Live from Studio 42, it's Hot Stove Tonight.
We're at the second intermission. Hot Stove Tonight. Elliotte Friedman, PJ Stock, Glenn Healy, and Kevin Weeks. And gents, from here in the nation's capital, I'll just tell you a couple of the whispers we're hearing. One is Matt Cullen in Minnesota is a possible trade. The Ottawa Senators had him once before. So there's a name out there. Now, Minnesota's obviously clearly in the thick of the hunt in the Western Conference. Florida and Buffalo. Leopold moves today to St. Louis. A lot of speculation about Brian Campbell maybe being up for bids here in Florida. Thomas Fleischman's another guy who might be considered come trade deadline. And obviously then the names Jay Bouwmeester and Ales Hemsky in Edmonton. So we'll send it to you, Elliotte, to quarterback. What might be happening in the week to come?
All right, Ron, with Kevin, Glenn, and PJ here in Studio 42, we'll start with the cost of these moves.
Bring your wallet, boys, if you want to get some of these players, because remember the days, 09, Billy Guerin, he was a captain of the Islanders. Pittsburgh gets him. He had 16 goals. A fifth-round pick, that's all you got for him. Now let's look at today's costs, and it is expensive. Murray, for instance, 2 second-round picks. You just throw that around, 2 second-round picks. Well, guess what? That would be Silverberg and Leonard, your goalie of the future. So it costs you a ton. Corey Cross was a 13-year vet. He got a 4th-round pick. Oza Lynch, a 3rd-round pick. I mean, these were the prices back then. Now you look at it and you say to yourself, because teams have locked their core in, because they know that they've got guys locked and loaded, the cost is extreme. And you just throw those numbers around. You look at Ottawa tonight, 16 players drafted. They got 5 in the 2nd round, 6 in the 3rd round. So, like, before you hand out all these draft picks, just be careful.
Pittsburgh only has 2, though, in the 2nd. But you know what? At Pittsburgh's point, they're the one that has pretty much set the market. They're the only one.
Why?
Team. Well, they're the only one buying anything right now.
They set the market on 2 seconds. I wouldn't buy that market for 2 seconds.
But they're looking at
They're
looking at their situation, how they went down last year playing against Philadelphia. They are missing that defenseman that they thought they needed in Douglas Murray. They don't have that Scuderi factor anymore. So they overpaid. They just made their team that much better. Letang doesn't have to block shots on the penalty kill anymore. He's injured now.
Would you trade Silverberg and Leonard for Murray?
No, but he complements their team. He's something that they needed. So overpay, who cares? Our team is that much better because we have him now. That's the only argument I have for that.
Let's take a look at some situations here. You know, nobody's confirming or denying these, so we'll see what happens.
Make it up, Elliotte. Here we go.
All right, Jay Bouwmeester. I mean, it's no secret. Detroit, L.A. People are wondering if Toronto's going to get involved in
Tampa
this.
Bay, too?
Tampa, for sure. Yeah. Tampa needs him more than any of those teams right now.
The word on Calgary obviously open for business. Sven Barchi, don't ask, and then we'll talk about just about a lot of other things. Mika Kiprusoff, and I know there's been a lot of questions about his future. I believe the Maple Leafs and the Flames talked about him. The Flames asked for a first-rounder, and the Maple Leafs said no. Too high a price to pay. Roberto Luongo, I think the Vancouver Canucks guys would like to do it. Corey Schneider's got the net now, but I don't think they're going to do it unless they get the center that they feel they need can make an impact in the Stanley Cup.
Well, the other thing they'll have to get is they got to get a goalie back, because Eddie Lack is their goaltender in the minors. He had hip surgery. It was successful. But if Schneider goes down, then boom goes the dynamite.
What team needs a goalie if you're a playoff team right now? You go through that list: Pittsburgh, Montreal, Winnipeg, Boston, Ottawa, Toronto.
Toronto. That's it.
I think the other wild card with the goalies is Tampa Bay, because they're going to need to do something eventually.
But they need to do something.
Do they do it now, or do they do it later?
They do it whenever they can get the guy that they want. Definitely, it's a position of need.
The other thing, too, Rafi Torres, Phoenix is available. Vancouver might want to take him back. Derek Morris, I think, will be available. If Ottawa is interested in dealing Ben Bishop, which they might not be, I think Phoenix would be interested in another tall goalie for Mike Smith. I don't think Hemsky to Boston is going to happen. Handzus from San Jose, there's a lot of interest, I think, and the wild card is Buffalo.
That's it?
I'm done.
That's it?
The wild card is Buffalo, what they're going to do, because they have a lot of talent.
Hey,
hold on. Before we go there?
Buffalo wouldn't want to make a deal, I think, for Miller until the summertime, because that is a big move, a big
Huge
bold
move.
And we talked about the goalie market. It's not a lot there. People wanting goals.
And let's not forget Washington, okay? They're down right now tonight. If they lose this one, I think it's pretty much curtains for the Washington Capitals. Mike Ribeiro's played very well. Point-per-game player. Can he be on the move with an expiring contract?
Not enough character.
Expiring contract. He put points up.
Tough to find centers, though, and he's having a big year. Okay, earlier today, there was an interview I saw in the pregame show, the Inside Hockey, Ron, with Jerome McGinley, and one of the answers raised a few eyebrows. So let's reset it for you.
There's this speculation out there that Sidney Crosby got on the phone and said, Jerome, as good as the Boston offer is, we need you, you belong here, and that's what turned the tide. Is that true?
Well, there's some truth to that. You know, I did hear that Sid, I didn't talk to him before, but that he'd put in a good word, and I really enjoyed playing with him there at the Olympics, getting a chance to meet him, and he's him and Gino are the two best players in the world, and it was tough. It was first of all just moving, leaving Calgary was not an easy decision, and but I think it was time for everyone, and good for the organization too. So I did have a decision. As far as I knew, I got up early in that day, and Donnie called me and said that I was, he talked to Jay and I was to stay home, and they were working on a deal. But then I didn't hear anything really. I'd get just tidbits for a few hours, and I didn't really until about 11 our time out west was when I heard that the actual deal was done.
Well, there is a thing that gets put up in all the dressing rooms now, and technically players can tamper. They're told personal communications to entice a player under contract with any other team to come to your team. That's not allowed.
Where's that memo?
But it's put up in every dressing room. Now, maybe you retired before that happened.
Maybe.
But I don't look at that and say there's enough there to say there was tampering. I know people are really sensitive right now, but I don't see something there that says the Penguins tampered with Jarome Iginla.
And do you think the league's going to soil the best player in the league?
Come on.
There's no proof, at least. But Boston will be mad. But Boston should know, when you make a trade, and they believe they had a trade, well, there's a trade call. So you didn't have a trade. And the other thing, from Calgary's standpoint, and every team in the league, 160 players in the league, no move, no trade, or no trade. So you have to get a waiver signed by players. So words out to everybody, if you're a team, get your players on that waiver before you make a move.
And full credit to Ray Sherrill. A lot of people didn't see this coming. Give him a lot of credit.
Yeah,
Here's
like
a guy
the Boston Bruins.
Exactly. Here's a guy that's been able to add 2 captains and Douglas Murray without tinkering from his roster.
I would be mad too if I was the Bruins, but there were a couple people who saw the interview today and said, does that mean there was tampering? I don't think there's anything there.
Do you think Jacobs gets involved? That's the one guy.
He's been known to get involved in things before.
That's the only question.
Phoenix Coyotes. Well, the time is really running down on that hockey club. Yeah. When you look at it, there isn't a sane lender anywhere that's going to give the new group $170 million to buy the team. So here are the questions I have. First off, okay, the $20 million subsidy that Glendale gives. Number one, is that part of HRR? If it is, the players get half. That's going to make it a little more difficult. $20 million revenue sharing. That 40 makes it a little bit more palatable, but I think if this goes and stays in Phoenix, the league is going to have to finance this because Jameson had a year and came up with nothing.
And should it move? And should it move?
Here's the Calgary group wants to close this week. Darren Pastor is the other guy who said he's interested. He's meeting with the city and the team on Monday. He says he's got somebody with 30 years experience in municipal financing.
Awesome.
He's bringing to the group. Let's see if it makes a difference because I do agree this is the last shot.
I hope it's last shot. That better be
9 years in a row.
Ron?
Elliotte, I can't see tampering, but Don Meehan just called. Newport Sports has fined me $20,000 for egging him on the hot stove tonight.